Welcome to the segment of Project Management Lifecycle. Like most other things in business, projects also go through the phases of planning, scheduling, and controlling. Planning is before the project begins, and scheduling is right before the project starts. Controlling or monitoring is during the project, and subsequently we move on to the next project's planning and scheduling and so on. Let us look at planning the project in little more detail. This is called the project management triangle or the triple constraint of project management. Cost or budget, time, and performance or quality. Together, these three things, time, cost, and performance, will help us in planning and managing a project. Let me give an example. The building where our business school is housed is known as the Eberly Building, which was constructed in 1996. But the budget for the building was set by the state government few years before the construction of the project. It was $10 million. However, thanks to that crazy thing called inflation, right before the construction took place, the actual cost of the project had significantly gone up. It was more than $10 million. The original budget would not work out. The only way we could stay within $10 million was to sacrifice the performance of the project. This building was originally planned with 4 floors of office space, classrooms, labs, and a beautiful auditorium of 500 seating capacity. The first thing that came to the minds of the state as well as the construction company was to cut the auditorium, which would definitely cover the extra cost that would have been incurred because of inflation. However, the college dean prevailed. He insisted that the auditorium was one of the best parts of the building and he would be adamant about cutting it. But he was not able to change anything about the budget. It still had to be within $10 million and the performance had to be sacrificed somewhere. So guess what? The 4th floor of the building was going to be shrunk drastically. The office spaces, the corridor spaces, and a lot of other things in the 4th floor had to be cut to make sure that the project stayed within budget. So if you come to the Eberly building today and look at the 4th floor from the east side or the west side, you will see that the first 3 floors are just fine, but the 4th floor is little awkward, being 60 or 70% of the size of the other 3 floors. So the point is, there is a correlation between these two, cost and performance. Similarly, there is a more obvious correlation between time and cost. Time and performance. If you try to do too many things in too little time, whether it's a design project or a construction project or any other project, there is a tendency to cut corners, which means the performance will sacrifice. Same thing between time and cost. There is a very complex relationship. Sometimes if you take more time, the cost may come down. Sometimes if you take more time, the cost may go up. We will look at that. We all understand the basics of direct and indirect costs. We will get into that in little more detail when we talk about project crashing. So I want you to understand at this point in time that These three are very important factors in planning as well as scheduling and controlling of a project. Ahead of time, we got to know how much money we have budgeted, what are the costs associated with the different activities of the project, what is the performance expectation, how is the quality measured in the project, how much time do we have to complete, if we take more time, is there a cost associated, if we complete the project in shorter time, is there a cost benefit. So the triple constraint of project management has to be understood well in advance while planning the project. Next, you got to define the project. When we say defining the project, you need to understand every specific task involved, every specific subtask, milestones. Then you got to have what we call as the WBS, work breakdown schedule, or the work breakdown structure. You got to know what is the organizational structure pertaining to the project. What is the work breakdown structure? If this is the end of the project, what are these two tasks? What are the subtasks? Who is responsible for this, for this, for this? Identify the team and the resources that we need. What kind of resources do we need? Human resources, information resources. You need inventory in many cases. So what are the resources that we need? All of these need to be identified. So this in a nutshell is project planning. What goes into project planning? Now, if you look at it in a little more detail here, like I said already, planning the project is this. We discussed this. These are some of the activities. Then scheduling the project. That is the second stage in the life cycle of a project. The age-old Gantt chart is one of the best tools that are used to schedule a project. Once we know who is responsible for completing what activity, in what sequence, and at what specific time, that can be very nicely represented on a Gantt chart. In addition, we have CPM and PERT, which is our next segment. We'll discuss that, which also can be used to identify the schedule for the project. We also have milestone charts. Those are charts which identify what milestones need to be completed or reached, when, and if they're being reached or not. Then you have cash flow schedules. These are looking at time. This will look at the cost aspect. So here we looked at pro forma cash flow charts. How much do we expect to spend? How do we expect to spend that? Finally, you have the controlling the project. The project has started now. Now we are monitoring the project. What are the activities that are being delayed from what was originally planned? What are the activities where there is a slack, where you either budgeted more resources than necessary, or things are going faster than you originally planned, so you have some slack. So you can take those resources and reassign or reallocate them to activities that are getting delayed. You're looking at budgets, matching them with expenses. So during the controlling of the project, the job is to monitor, expedite, reallocate resources as necessary. So project planning, project scheduling, project controlling. These are the three stages in the life cycle of a project.